Wagwan, hello and welcome again yet to another episode of 50Plus1 podcast. My name is Charles Odiman. Today we are diving into a topic that has cracked all over the news. It is some great news, but really we'll get to understand if it really is some great news or the news isn't that great, because there's a story that has been making headlines across African football. It's a topic which has brought a lot of discussions along from X, formerly Twitter, to Facebook, to WhatsApp groups, to radio stations, to interviews. It's quite an array, and other people are happy, other people are not good about it. It's the news that Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, having the Pamoja bid, have won to host African Cup of Nations AFCON 2027. This has made many of us to be surprised, or simply to ask a lot of questions. Why are people celebrating, and what are we celebrating, or is it some form of humiliation? First of all, let's just get to understand. African Cup of Nations is an annual football tournament, that takes place each and every 2 years. Sometime back it was played during June, July, or sometimes back it is also played January, February. So it is always not consistent, and the argument is that we play it maybe January, February, because in Africa during June, July, Africa, we have the long rains, and why we play it during January, February? There are no rains. So if there are no rains, meaning that our pitches are good, because we want to broadcast it to the world and avoid all this aibundogondogo. So no problem, we have to do it during January and February. So June, July, August, we cannot do that, because in Africa that's the time for long rains, and mostly the tropical part of Africa, it rains, and when it rains, you just know the quality of our fields. Bore kabisa, very fake. So let's address the elephant in the room. The mere fact that Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania saw it wise to have a joint bid, it spoke a lot of volumes. It was powerful, because for the first time, I think it is for the first time, AFCON, if they prepare well, will be hosted in this East African side of the East African part of Africa, and this speaks quite a nice place and a nice thing to the East African football, because basically East African football, it's not actually that good. In East Africa, mostly we are known for running, the athletes, the Kipchoges, the Kiplimos of Uganda, and also there are some Tanzanians who are really trying in the marathon side. There, East Africa, we are quite good. If you add Ethiopians, correct, we are so perfect. But now when it comes to football, we have been sleeping. We have just produced a few footballers, the likes of Michael Olunga. We have a world-renowned Victor Wanyama, there's Mbwana Samata, and also McDonald Mariga, the brother to Wanyama. Those are some of the few players that we've produced. But when it comes to real talent, I don't really think if we've produced quite a lot in terms of football. So this one will be such a great opportunity, because one, it is automatic qualification for all the 3 nations, and also the good thing is that the number of slots I've heard that by 2027 will be increased, so it is accommodative. And one, if you've gotten it for free, no playing qualifiers, it gives you quite a lot of time to play, have friendlies, prepare, all those things. But if you dilly-dally and sit around, you'll be like Qatar. You host the World Cup, but you're being eliminated earlier with 0 points. It is so shameful and shaming. So East African countries, it was such a nice thing, but it is also an opportunity for us to showcase our tourism. We have the famous wildlife crossing Masai Mara. We have it is the cradle of mankind, the East Africa savannah grassland. We have visitors can move everywhere across East Africa, because it will be quite such nice. Remember, in East Africa, I don't know if it is true, but in Kenya nowadays, moving in is visa free. So unaweza ingia Kenya visa free, you can come in visa free, get out, you receive visa at the entrance, which is something quite good. So coming to watch the AFCONs to East Africa won't be quite difficult, and also it will be such a nice occasion if it is planned well. When we leave for politicians to do it, you expect some things might go well, some might not go as planned. But also, the skepticism surrounding this bid is also hard to ignore, because some critics argue that instead of celebrating this achievement, this small achievement in quotes, we should be questioning why these nations felt compelled to join forces in the first place. So basically, me for myself, I think that if we are joining forces, they say that there's power in coming together. So we came together as East Africa, the EAC, East Africa Community, but nowadays at large, it is large. It has Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. We go all the way until DRC. Even Somalia wants to get into the East Africa Community. But now the original founding members of EAC, we decided to have a joint bid. They dubbed it in Kiswahili Pamoja bid. So tuliamua tukuje pamoja so that we can have it. But this thing is also speaking quite a lot, because it is important to know that AFCON has quite a massive following and undertaking, and very many people are interested in it, from clubs in Europe who send in their players. They want to see how their players perform. They also want to see if it is actually standard. I remember the past event that occurred, that is back in the one that Senegal won. It is 2021, yeah. Klopp had really quite a challenge, because by that time Mane and Salah had to leave the club to go and play, and those were some of their key players. So that is also a problem, but also it gives the African players a chance, because other people who love their type of play will tune in to watch. Hence more eyes, and more eyes meaning that more exposure to the players. It's quite good. Nothing to complain about, but it requires a lot. What it requires: one, we need world-class stadiums, yeah. And what we see in Kenya currently, as I speak, there is no single stadium that is approved to play an international match. If we want to play an international match, really international match, leave alone these friendlies, we have to go to the only nice stadium is in Tanzania. I don't know, it is Benjamin Mkapa. That's the only stadium that is fit, and it is in the FIFA and CAF standards to play all these remaining Nyayo, Kasarani. I don't know how the Ugandans ones are called, but until now it is only one that is fit. And to host, we need up to 6 stadia. So Kenya to produce 2, Uganda 2, Tanzania 2. So Tanzania by now have 1. All they need to do is improve 1 and they will be in. So Kenya and Uganda are the ones who need to pull up their socks so that they can fast build their stadia, or repair the ones that are there to the standards that are required. Also, they need extensive transportation. When I speak of transportation, actually it means that, for example, if you watch the Qatar World Cup, one clearing of people in and out of the airports should be quite easy, so that there is no jam in the airports. Kenya has only one international airport, meaning that when we have quite a lot of people coming in, let me say, for example, it is a final and it is decided that we are playing it in Kenya, very many people will have to come to Kenya. Therefore, the Kenyan Airports Authority will have to employ more and more people, so that people can be cleared in smoothly and faster, so that there's no jam in the airport. Also, the bus system, the transport system should be intact and okay. People should be guided. If you are going to this place, follow this route. All those are things that need to be in place for you to host an international event like this one, and also an unforgettable one like the Qatar World Cup in 2022. Also, they need to have accommodations. Like, I don't know in Kenya right now how many 5-star hotels do we have, but 5-star hotels to host the players, because players needs to be treated well. They are the ones who are there to entertain people. Also, other visitors would like to have 5-star experiences, so the hotels accommodations should be super duper great. No complaints about that. Also, when we speak of hosting an international event like this, we have to have various facilities like the gyms for the players, extra fields where they train, because you cannot be training in the main arena, the main stadium. Extra fields where they train. So that is a challenge for you to host. Therefore, you must have all these facilities in place. And the good thing is that before the tournament kicks, it is checked, and it is checked thoroughly to confirm if these things, all of them, are in place. And meaning being in place does not mean that they're just there. They must meet the required standard. The stadiums must have proper lighting, proper security and health system, and also they must have the proper the gate system where people just scan in their gate passes or their tickets to get into the field. But something fun is that Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania each, they have their unique strengths and unique challenges. For example, Tanzania, their strength is that people pull up and come to the field to watch a match. But in Kenya, that is really quite a great problem. Pulling the masses back into the fields is not quite easy. That is something difficult. But in Kenya, their strength is that, for example, we had the FIFA Fan Fest. We can have the AFCON Fan Fest where it can be hosted in Kenya. There, pulling crowds will be easier because hosting international artists, people to come and jump, Kenyans are ready for that. But filling the stadium, no, that's not a thing for Kenya. That one you can do in Tanzania, where my fans, they're truly ready and eager to watch. That in Uganda, I don't know much about Uganda, because Uganda is just a country that is silent. Also, I just don't know much about Uganda. I am also not interested so much in Uganda. But I love to do more and more research about Uganda, because Uganda is also part of East Africa community. But the goodness is that Uganda, their strength is food. So if you want to go and experience street food, local food, the organic foods, go to Uganda. That one is guaranteed. In terms of food, the fruits, and also Uganda being, according to a report, world's most drunkest country in the world. You can go there and experience the traditional alcoholic brands like the Warajis and the Matatas. You just go to Uganda. That's also their strength. But when it comes to challenges, like in Kenya, the challenges are that fans do not really attend the stadium matches, even when it is hosted free. But this is an international event. You cannot say people to pull up for free. What will the country getting? Apart from visitors coming, they also need to have revenue collection and gate collection. So I'm wondering, for example, let me say Somalia qualify, and Somalia is playing against Eritrea. Very many people know players from Eritrea and Somalia, and they're not interested. Then to make matters worse, it is played in Kenya, where fans really are not interested in turning up to the match. That one will be quite a downfall, because it will show that these people have been given the opportunity and they don't want to turn up and fill the stadium, because the locals are the ones who have a upper hand of attending, because it is happening in their country. Accommodation is no problem, transport is no problem, food, everything, the prices are okay for them. They know everything, how it operates, so it is easier for them to fill the stadium than for the outsiders. Not everybody can come from Somalia to watch their match, because it is difficult for other people to travel, other fanatics, so they'll be watching it through television thanks to technology, and also listening in through their radios and everything. But if the weaknesses of certain countries like those, it is very difficult. But so these countries decided this. So we have these challenges. In Kenya, people don't turn up. In Tanzania, we turn up. In Uganda, we have food. We have great vibes. In Tanzania, it is this and this. So they decided, let us sit together as a community. Let us discuss how we can bid for this thing. And if we win it, we are going to do 1, 2, 3. So by joining forces, the countries aimed to pool their resources and also to share responsibility. When I talk of sharing responsibilities, that they decided each country, because they are needed 6 study each country to produce 2, 2, 2. But I have heard that each country is having 1 extra, so 3, 3, 3 per country. After that, meaning that if the countries decide to maintain the quality of the stadium, meaning that when the tournament is over, the countries will have better stadia. That for sure is great idea. Also, they've created a united front, meaning that they'll have a committee consisting of people from Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania to form a committee for the AFCON 2027. This committee will be charged with making preparations, the logos, the everything, where the opening ceremony will be done, the final, why it will be played, the reasons why it is be played in this country and not this country, blah blah blah, all those many boardroom things. There will be some people who will be given that opportunity to do it. So that is the beauty of joining forces, which also on the surface seems commendable. However, it raises quite a lot of questions when it comes to now financial feasibility and the collective readiness of the nations to host this prestigious tournament. Because one, the challenges is that one, it is not a common currency. So when this committee will be seated down, they will be talking about the mode, the United States dollars, USD. So when we are calculating each and everything in US dollars, the exchange rate will be different. For example, 1 bob in Kenya is 25 bob in Tanzania and 35 bob in Uganda. So the exchange rate from USD, when the money will be divided, yes, it will be divided equally, but to the layman, it will be said, for example, Kenya has received 1 million US dollars, and it will be said, Kenya has received, let me say, 1 billion Kenyan shillings, but it will be said, Tanzania has received 25 billion Tanzania shillings, and Uganda has received 35 billion Tanzania shillings in preparation for AFCON. So a layman will have a problem saying, no, these people are unfair. Why is it that Kenya has 1 billion, Tanzania is being given 25 billion, or Uganda being given that? That is the problem. That, for sure, it will be quite a problem to those people who do not understand how the currencies and exchange rates happen. But I've told you earlier, so you can explain that to all those people who are the doubters, the naysayers, all those who think will not understand such thing. So now the problem now, let's go into the heart of the matter, the reason why I decided to record this podcast and really record it, because when I heard people celebrating on Twitter, the president tweeting back, we have the opportunity now to show the world that we are ready to prepare for this type of tournament. Oh, Mama Samia also tweeting, Kaguta himself, M7 also thanking, at everybody. But myself, when I saw this, I just had in mind something where I was wondering, what the hell? Why are all these people humiliating themselves? Why have a joint bid? When it boils down to African footballing ambitions, the continent has produced some of the world's best and most talented. We have the president George Weah, who won the first African, and also I think will be the last African, because I don't see any African being given opportunity to win a Ballon d'Or. George Weah, for sure, one of the greats when we talk about Africa. We have Roger Miller, JJ Okocha, Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, Victor Wanyama. We have produced quite commendable players who are passionate. But the problem is that collaborating to host, was it really a must to collaborate to host? Because Kenya as a country, just producing only 6 stadiums, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, was a problem to host AFCON. Only 6 stadiums. So when I look at people and I see very many grown-ups, including you, celebrating that, oh, this time round they saw it wise to bring it to East Africa. It could be that this time round they saw it wise to bring it to Kenya or to Tanzania or to Uganda, an East African nation, not a joint East African nation. Look at Morocco. Morocco is going to host African Cup of Nations 2025 by themselves. South Africa hosted the World Cup 2010 by themselves. Qatar hosted the World Cup 2022 by themselves. So, only is it that this issue of joint bidding has been introduced by US, who I see also have a joint bid, it is something that is coming up, but US can host it by themselves, but they saw it wiser to give other nations or their neighbors the opportunity to enjoy. But I see there is power in joint bidding. This is not World Cup, because World Cup has some parameters and people vote, people campaign and do everything. This is AFCON, where you just convince. Yeah, you see there is also voting, but to just convince people that you can host it. One, it was East Africa that has never hosted. So if you bid it as a country and you have the required infrastructure, who will deny you this opportunity? Because in West Africa, in fact, this edition, it is going to Ivory Coast, where, Ivory Coast is in West Africa. Look at Morocco, North Africa. It was played in Egypt, North Africa. The East African side and the southern part, quite really, they have taken quite a lot of time to host it. And I'm sure the next edition after East Africa will go to southern part of Africa, not South Africa, the country, but the southern part itself. So I've been wondering, why can't we do it in our own? This is raising quite a lot of eyebrow to me. Is it that we are telling the world that in East Africa, we don't have stadia? That, first of all, we don't have stadiums in Kenya that we can play any competitive international match. Same to Uganda. It is only Tanzania that has one. So we are just telling everybody and showing them our dirty linen, telling them that, oh guys, look at us. We cannot host this thing. We cannot host this thing. So we decided to come together as a family so that we can pull our resources together, pull our each and everything together so that we can host it as a quite really. I wonder if Ivory Coast is going to host it themselves. Egypt did it in a quite fantastic and fantabulous. Why East Africa? Kenya, to be precise. Kenya as a country, we cannot host this thing. We just have to joint bid with other people. And when it comes to other things, why can't we just joint bid? Meaning that in Africa, first of all, things like Olympics, sports, it is quite a challenge. Olympics can never and will never come to Africa. Especially these landlocked countries where they have the opportunity of the beaches and everything. I don't see any opportunity of Africans hosting because, Olympic requires a lot. But football, it only requires stadia and these other things the economy provides, like 5-star hotels, infrastructure. It is only the stadia that is really important because economy runs itself. This stadia is the important part because that's where people come to play. But hosting the players is not difficult. You can even build temporary hostels like Qatar did. That's no problem. So I wonder why we still had to do a joint bid. We called it Pamoja bid. To myself, it was quite a downfall to the East African nations, and we should not repeat that mistake again. Next time when we are hosting, it should be individual countries. This shows that these countries, their footballing standards is to the low. That's why they don't produce better players who can compete in the international scope. Because if you don't have stadia, only 6, and you claim to have a league, what type of fields or stadia are they playing on? The turf is poor. I don't know. I just don't understand. So, as I continue to discuss this topic, it is also crucial for you to remember that hosting AFCON is not about just showcasing our football prowess. It is also an opportunity to boost the economy, meaning that if you had to do it by yourself, look at all the fans that you could have driven into a country and the attention. Look at how Qatar drew attention into their countries. People come and explore cultures. If you watch the 2022 World Cup, people were dressing like the sheikhs of Qatar. Their culture is being exported and their culture is being told out to the world. People who never knew about Qatar now know about it. They had their Qatar Airways doing almost 99% of bringing players in. So this was an opportunity. For example, if Kenya was to host, First, we sign a deal that all the players coming to Kenya will come to Kenya through Kenya Airways. And coming through Kenya Airways, meaning that Kenya Airways for that period of 1 month will be active doing business, because players must come in, though the ones that will be defeated after group stages must be headed out, and all of them will be using Kenya Airways. This is money pumped into Kenya Airways to boost Kenya Airways. Then also bus services, the government bus services, to pick them straight from the airport into their various hotels and training facilities. That is the work, meaning that the government buses, the idleness, people will be providing security. For that period of 1 month, it will be a boom. But if you are hosting it as 3 countries, attention is not really focused. For example, today, Kenya is playing Egypt in Nyayo, let me say. It is only that focus, Kenya playing Egypt in Nyayo. Or you can find Kenya playing Egypt at Kampala. It is only that attention. It is not quite really important, because it will be something that they will play, but Egypt may be playing, their group might be playing here, but the quarters they will be leaving, heading out. So you see, it's not that important. And it is something that could have been just done in one place. For example, in Kenya, Nairobi, small place host the AFCON in that small environment, where it will be easier for people to navigate and enjoy the booms of the area. They can live out of the busy Nairobi, go to Masai Mara, enjoy, fly out to the coast, enjoy during the weekend, the time of the breaks of the games. But this one, other people will just come to tour, or other people will see it is a vast area. For example, if you got the chance to go to Qatar, it was quite a short area that you could access the fields by railway line. So this one, flying also will be much more expensive. It will be an expensive AFCON than if it was being hosted in one country. So I don't believe in all these people who celebrate too much about it. But also it will boost tourism, but not with that such impact. But promoting local economies, those who will be having small businesses that will be selling, for example, the jerseys, the bracelets, the vuvuzelas, the whistles, all those people, they will have something to smile about at the end of the day. That is local economy. Also, maybe it will inspire other future generations, for those who say, me, I fell in love with football the day AFCON was brought into Kenya. When I saw this and this player play, I fell in love with his style and decided, I must get into football. Yeah, it will inspire for sure. But whether this joint bid is a success or a missed opportunity, it still remains to be seen. I cannot complain further, because let's just give them opportunity to prepare. And not speak to be doomsayers or naysayers, but we hope and wish for the best, and we pray that it happens. But all I have to echo is that it is quite a mess. It is quite a mess. Why could just one country host this? Doing things together, you will just see as the speed goes by. So, what's your take on this issue? Do you believe that celebrating the giant big as a month of unity? Are you those who celebrate, or are you the one who is not concerned about African football or ambitions, or you're just there? Whether it is played or not, you don't care. You're just there for yourself. Or you can leave your comments at the comment section. Tell me why you feel this joint bid, is it good or is it bad for the economy of East and African nations, and especially for Kenya, because I am in Kenya and my problem is Kenya, and building Kenya is what I am here to do. So my story is that what I feel about this is that it will happen, yes, but it will not be the best, because people will have to struggle to do things, especially last minute. Remember, in 2027, if you're from Kenya, that will be the time when we are deep into electioneering here. So the government's focus, or the present day government's focus, won't be too much on the AFCON, because you cannot use AFCON as a tool of campaign. Their power strategies will be channeled into other things, and AFCON won't be such a huge priority. The priority will be winning and getting back into office. So this will be one of the challenges. Either the funding during that time will be low because the government will be focusing on other issues like printing ballots, preparing for the election, all those. Because also remember, during building of this stadium, as usual, corruption, and I'll speak about corruption in one of these fine episodes and tell you why I feel corruption is always not there. Corruption is an individual and individuals work. So let's just wait and see. But to me and my feeling, what I feel is that it will be a hoti. It will be a más o menos in the middle type of AFCON. And it will just be not one to put in the history books, but it will be just be one. Just one. Just you say, it is just another AFCON. Let it be just played and let it go away. But we hope that you, as the committee that will be given of the opportunity, the governments, you'll do us something great. But deep inside, my feeling is that greatness is nothing. Greatness cannot be achieved by the way these people are going to handle it. And you have it here as a blueprint. It will not be some quite important. It will be just be among the AFCONs that were hosted. So it's a wrap for me today. That's the episode 2. Yeah, episode 2 of 50+1 podcast. Thank you for tuning in and listening and exploring this thought-provoking topic with me. Remember, while we question the celebration of this joint bid, we should also acknowledge the potential it holds for the development of African football as a whole. So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate and share with your friends. Until next time, this has been me, your host Charles Odimo. And if it is too difficult, call me Black Odimo. I'm signing off. Until next episode, adios, cuídate.